Welcome students to the class on Classical Theory of Public Administration. Classical theory is extremely significant and important in the study of public administration. Before we start with the meaning and nature of classical theory, we will understand the structure of this lecture. First, we will discuss the meaning, definition and the features of classical theory. Second, we will discuss different types of classical thinkers and the principles as developed by these classical thinkers. Thirdly, we will discuss different types of criticisms against classical theory. And lastly, we will discuss the significance of classical theory in the study of public administration. This theory was developed in the first half of the 20th century. This theory is extremely significant in the study of public administration as it highlights the role of structures and principles in the study of organization. Classical theory has always given importance to structures and different types of principles operating in organization. What we need to understand that this theory always tried to develop a set of universal principles which are fixed in nature and applicable in all types of organizations. For example, principles like structure, impersonality, rationality, order, division of labor, centralization, decentralization, these set of principles are applicable in any type of organization. Therefore, classical theory has tried to develop a set of principles for organizations. Now, we are coming to the main features of classical theory. If we look at the definition of classical theory, then the main features of the classical theory as follow. Number one, this theory is known as the mechanistic theory of organization. It means it has given importance to structures and considered human beings as machines who are aspiring for economy and efficiency in organization. Number two, this theory has developed a top to bottom model of organization. What does it mean? It means that classical thinkers have given more priority to the problems faced by the managers. So, it has always followed a top to bottom approach in understanding the organization and administrative behaviors. Another important feature of classical theory is that it has developed a mono theory of motivation. It means that classical theory has also developed the fact that all human beings are economic man and they are totally guided by the monetary factors or material rewards. Therefore, the sense of motivation has been defined in terms of material rewards and monetary factors. Another important feature of classical theory is that it has tried to develop a set of universal principles applicable for all organizations. And the last feature of the classical theory is that it has tried to develop a theory based on science of administration. So, it has given importance to two factors in administration. One, the factor based on economy, and second, efficiency. How efficiently the organization can function based on some universal principles like structure, rationality, impersonality, order, stability, etc. The classical theory cannot be understood without the contribution by Henri Fayol. Henri Fayol is known as the father of classical theory, who tried for the first time to develop the principles of organization. These principles were fixed and applicable in all types of organizations as claimed by the classical thinkers, including Henri Fayol. Henri Fayol mentioned that there are some principles which are integral to the functioning of organizations, and these principles are known as 14-point management principles. We will try to discuss a few important principles from this 14-point management principles. It is important to understand that before we start with this 14-point management principles, in classical theory, all the classical thinkers have given priority to the principle of division of labor or division of work. This principle is present in all the works of the classical thinkers. So, Henri Fayol had started with the principle of division of work because it leads to functional specialization and also it gives rise to efficiency in the organization. Therefore, division of work is extremely important because it is related to functional specialization as well as specification. After division of work, Henri Fayol had also given importance to two important principles. These are authority and responsibility. He defined authority in terms of the power to give orders and extract obedience. He also mentioned that this principle of authority is integral for organization, and this principle of authority is closely associated with responsibility because these are interrelated. Even the management, the authority has also the sense of responsibility. What we need to keep in mind that this 14-point management principles are applicable for both public as well as private organizations. Another important principle for Henri Fayol was the principle of discipline. Without discipline, no organization can work, and the principle of authority, responsibility, these are integrally related or closely associated with the concept of discipline. So, discipline is related to order, it's related to obedience and leads to efficiency in the organization. Another important principle as described by Henri Fayol was unity of command. What is this unity of command? Henri Fayol mentioned that no human being can accept order from dual bosses. It means we are incapable of accepting orders from dual or multiple bosses. We should have one single boss who will have the power to give us orders and receive obedience from us. Therefore, it's known as unity of command, and this unity of command principle is also associated with the principle of unity of direction. So, there must be a kind of unity of direction in order giving and in the performance of all the activities in organization. Apart from these principles, Henri Fayol had also mentioned about the principle of scalar process. What is the scalar process? By scalar process, we understand the notion of hierarchy, the control of the upper authority over the lower rank. Therefore, organization is always designed as a pyramid where the topmost authority or the upper authority should have their control over the lower rank of staff or the people. This scalar process leads to another principle which is known as the principle of centralization. What is this principle of centralization? Principle of centralization highlights the location of authority. So, if we say that it's a centralized authority, that means the authority is located in one place. And if we say that it is decentralized in nature, then it is quite understandable that there are multiple sources of authority. Apart from all these principles, Henri Fayol had also given importance to the principle of remuneration. we have continuously mentioned that the classical theory have given rise to the concept of the economic man, that man is only motivated and guided by material rewards or monetary rewards. So Henri Fayol mentioned that remuneration is the most important principle in every organization for ensuring efficiency as well as economy. Apart from all these important principles, there are also principles like equity, stability, order, initiative, and spirit. These principles also play a significant role in increasing efficiency of the organization. Therefore, it is important to mention that Henri Fayol, after this 14-point management principles, had given importance to a few important principles or crucial principles. These are planning, organizing, commanding, controlling, and coordinating. So these principles he felt that were the most significant in the organization. After Henri Fayol, it is important to understand the organizational principles as propagated by Gulick and Urwick. Their principles were very known for two important theories or principles. One, the theory of departments, and second, their principles as known as post-Gorb. So these are very much related to the theory of structure. According to them, every organization must have a structure, and without structure, no organization can function. Therefore, their understanding of structure had received manifestation in their theory of departments. So, according to them, every organization must have their departments based on specialized work. So, work should be properly divided in departments or through the departments. So, this is known as the theory of departments. It is important to mention that Gulick and Urwick, they have also proposed 4 P's for their theory of departments. What are these 4 P's? First, they have mentioned that every department must have a purpose. So, for example, one department has the purpose of welfare or child welfare. Therefore, the purpose of the department is to look after child welfare or women welfare or all over welfare for citizens. So, every department must have their purpose. Second P is the process. So, what do we understand by process? By process, we understand skilled knowledge, that every department must go through a process and must have skilled knowledge so that they can fulfill the purpose they have made. Another important function of the department is related to persons. So, this is the third P. So, what do we understand by the persons? Obviously, by the persons we understand the man force and their contribution in the department. And another important P is the place. So, this place is very significant to highlight the location of the department. For example, district administration, for example, state administration, or tribal welfare administration. So, the moment we use this kind of places, that highlights the importance of location in public administration. Therefore, this theory of department is extremely significant in understanding the structure of the organization as propagated by Urwick and Gulick. And they have also explained important principles. And what are these principles? The principles of planning, the principle of organizing, the principle of staffing, the principle of directing, the principle of coordinating, budgeting, and reporting. These are the principles which are extremely significant in every organization. We need to keep in mind that these classical thinkers like Fayol have always given importance to the principles of division of labor, delegation of work, line and staff and other principles, but these principles as developed through post-Gore were very important in the study of public administration. After their contribution, it is also important to understand the contribution by Mooney and Riley. What were their contributions? They basically tried to see the organization from 4 principles. One principle was very significant and it was related to the principle of coordination. Another principle was functional specialization, and other principles were related to line and staff and division of labor or division of work. So, if we come to Mooney and Riley's principles of organization, we will mainly find that they have given importance to coordination, functional specialization, scalar process and all, as well as division of labor or work. So, what is the meaning of coordination? The meaning of coordination becomes very important in the context of centralization, decentralization and hierarchy. They have successfully mentioned that in organization there must be coordination between the higher and the lower rank. Otherwise, it will impact the efficiency of the organization. Apart from this principle of coordination, they have also asked for functional specialization. As I have mentioned earlier, that this principle of functional specialization is closely associated with division of work or division of labor because it leads to functional specification. In their principles, the scalar process is very important. And what is the scalar process? As Henri Fayol had also mentioned, that it relates to hierarchy, because for organizational efficiency there must be hierarchy and there is also a need for coordination. In this way, these classical thinkers have tried to develop a structure in the organization, and they all have believed that no organization can work successfully if there is a strong structure. After analyzing Henri Fayol, Gulick and Urwick and Mooney and Riley's principles of organization, it is quite clear that few principles are universal and applicable in all kind of organizations. For example, the principle of planning. So, planning is very important, and planning can further be divided in terms of long term and short term. Through planning, we try to understand the nature of organization and organizational goals and vision. Apart from planning, organizing, managerial activities, budgeting, reporting, hierarchy, coordination, these are few important principles which are crucial for all organizations. What we need to keep in mind that these classical thinkers have also given importance to the principle of line and staff. In fact, Mooney and Riley, they have given special importance to the principle of line and staff. So, this principle of line and staff also highlights the relationship between the authority and the lower rank or the staff or supporting agencies. So, by line management we understand the authority, and by staff we understand the implementing agencies or those people as advisors, as workers, those who implement the decisions or policies at the lower level. So, this line and staff management becomes equally important for all these classical thinkers while developing a structure in the organization. In this way, the classical thinkers have developed their theories on organizations. After discussing their theories, it is also important to understand the main criticisms against the classical theory. Needless to mention, there are different types of criticisms against the classical theory. The most important criticism against the classical theory is that it is a mechanistic theory. Mechanistic theory means it considers human beings as machines and totally isolated from their environment. It is also considered as closed theory. It means that it has no connection with the environment. Classical theory is also criticized as traditional theory. But what we need to keep in mind that this theory has faced a very sharp criticism on the ground of methodology, and especially by Herbert Simon. This theory claimed that it tried to develop a set of universal rules and regulations, principles for all organizations, and these universal rules and regulations, principles were fixed for all organizations. But what Herbert Simon mentioned that their methods were unscientific. Rather, the classical theories or the classical theorists, they have not paid enough attention to the question of methodology. Therefore, this theory has faced severe criticism on the ground of methodology. Another important criticism has again come from Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon had always believed in administrative theories and administrative behavior. Therefore, he made a strong critique against the role of structures. According to him, the structure cannot be one and only pillar in public administration. Rather, the process of decision making and administrative behaviors were equally important in the study of public administration. Another very sharp and strong criticism came from human relations theory. According to human relations, organizations cannot only be understood in terms of monetary gains, formal organizations, or structures. Rather, the role of human sentiments, group affiliation, especially workers' group affiliation, group identity, as well as group pressures play very important role in managing organizational well-being and problems. But this theory, the classical theory, did not pay any attention to sociological, psychological and other factors, mainly environmental factors in the organization. Even if we look at human relations theory, especially the Hawthorne experiments, it was quite clear that the workers, in spite of having bad conditions, physical conditions, they continued with their good work because it was recognition, it was value, it was popularity that impacted their efficiency. Therefore, human relations theory has criticized this classical theory on the ground that this theory has not paid any attention to human sentiments and other environmental factors. Another very strong criticism came from the theories on informal organizations. As we know that these informal organizations are very much related to human relation theory. So what is this informal organizations? Informal organizations are not based on written rules, they are actually based on bonds and human sentiments. According to the theory of informal organization, the classical theory had no place for informal organization and everything was based on formal organizations. Therefore, it is quite clear that the way the classical theory had propounded the mono theory of motivation, that human beings are only guided by material rewards, was totally criticized by other types of theories which highlighted the socio-economic theory of motivation. In this way, classical theory had faced criticisms, different types of criticisms, but these different types of criticisms do not nullify the contribution made by this theory. We should not forget that this theory for the first time tried to develop a science of public administration, a science of universal principles, and a science for more organizational efficiency and well-being.